What's up everyone? Welcome back to the MX Factory. I'm Tyler and we've got a couple special guests today to do a video that we've been wanting to do for a long time. We've got Yammie Noobs.
I am Spite and this is...
And today basically what we're going to do is take them through a little bit of riding and explain the nuances between riding on street and riding on dirt. Maybe encourage you riders out there that haven't ridden before to get on the dirt before you go take that dreaded motorcycle course. It's going to be a lot of pressure. Make that a little easier for you and safer for you. And yeah, let's get right to it.
Sweet, let's dive in.
Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is understanding that these bikes have much less traction, right? There's a few nuances that are much different. There's a lot that are the same, right? Your clutch release is the same, your throttle control is the same. When you get into braking, that's where it starts to become a little bit different. Like on street bikes, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like 70% or maybe even 80% front brake, 20% rear brake. It's almost the opposite. Especially in conditions like this, if you guys look out, we've got little pebbly rocks, we've got flat ground, we've got dirt that's been watered, we've got dry dirt. And so you can understand that if you're on lean at all and you go to use that front brake, the front tire is going to want to wash out and slide away from you. So that's something that's going to have to be like a thing in your mind where you're like, okay, well, I'm just maybe not even going to touch the front brake. Go slow enough to where you can use the back brake, just slow the bike down enough to get through the corners. The second thing is our first oval that we're going to ride here, you're not going to have to lean the bike that much to get through the turn. So it's not going to be a big deal. But I know that the initiation on a street bike is inside of the bike typically. At least this is what I've seen, right? I don't have a ton of experience. On this, it's the opposite. You're on the outside of the bike. We call it crack to crack. I don't know if that's appropriate for the YouTube channel, but it's butt crack to the outside edge crack of the seat, right? And the idea here is that we're putting the bike down below us. We're driving weight down the center line of the bike to get the inside knobbies to grip. It's the opposite on a street bike. You need your weight to get it inside because the bike's heavier just to get it to lean over, I assume. Again, I'm not a professional here, but I assume, right? So this is going to be the biggest thing when we start this little oval. I know you guys are going to be able to pull off okay. You're going to be able to pull in, pull your clutch in, go onto the brakes, get your feet out, all the basic stuff just fine. This is stuff that you've already learned, right? But when you start to go out, I need to see bike goes to the inside. You look through the corner just as you would on your street bike, and then just lightly roll that throttle on. Anything, and this is what I always tell my students, anything aggressive on a dirt bike is bad. Anything aggressive, right? So heavy throttle, heavy clutch, heavy brake, anything. It's all very fluid, it's all very smooth and calculated, and that's how you create that traction. So the second thing I'd like for you to understand, and like I said, we may not get too deep into this, but motocross in general, as you look out into our arena here, we'll call it, is bumpy, it's rough, there's jumps, there's all that. We're standing 80% of the track. So we only sit to kind of create get through the apex of the corner and accelerate to the exit, and then we're right back off the seat. It gets very rough on a traditional motocross track. There's usually big jumps, so most of that's done standing. So we're moving the bike underneath us. We're in a position where the bike can work to and from us. We're never stationary, right? I would love to see you guys in that position so you can feel the strain. Like most people, you know, you get this stuff at school all the time. That's what I did as a kid. Oh, you just sit there and turn the throttle, right? You just sit there and turn the throttle, but no one really understands what being in good attack position for 30 or 40 minutes on a rough track actually feels. It's bad, right? It's very difficult. It'd probably be like going and riding 500 or 600 miles. That kind of fatigue happens in 30 or 40 minutes. Right, so standing to sitting is a big difference that we have to make sure that we pay attention to. Another big thing is that probably not going to be a problem for you, but for the viewers out there, especially on our channel that may be wanting to get into street, it's a nice understanding to have that these bikes are in general slower than like, you know, you go walk into the Yamaha dealer and you buy, you know, whatever, 1000cc street bike, which I've seen done by people that come from dirt to that, and I'm like, well, hold on here, you know, maybe you go buy the 600 or you go buy the 250, right? Because if you're skilled, you can ride that just as well and just as fast as you need to, at least. And so something that I would love for everyone to pay attention to, especially on our channel, is like, hey, look, check this out. This bike has 20 horsepower or 15, this 15 horsepower. You're gonna have the time of your life on it. You know what I mean? It's there. This is 18, maybe 19 horsepower. You're gonna have a great time, right? Because there's different things that you can do on the dirt that you can't do on the street. You don't need all that power. And really, it's just downright unsafe, right? Whiskey throttles are a real thing both on these, and I would even imagine on the street it's worse. There's like instant traction. There's so much power. There's so much anxiety around the fact that there's all these variables, right? There's curbs, there's, you know, cars, there's lights, there's everything. So be here, be on a slow bike. Even if you're starting on the street, start on a slow street bike. That's my opinion. I think anyone should take that advice.
Absolutely.
So the last piece that we're going to talk about here, if you start on the dirt, you're going to create really good control awareness. We know that the clutch is the clutch, the front brake is the front brake, the throttle is the throttle, our shifter is our shifter, and our brake is our brake. Correct me if I'm wrong, but most street bikes are that way. Oh, yeah. I think I saw that they're like doing automatic shifting now on some of the bikes.
Yep, you got your DCT, and you also have quick shifters on some of the fancier bikes, so you just flip right up into the
which is pretty awesome, right? But you know, that's what 1, 2, 5% of the people are going to get to experience that, at least for now, right? So creating good control awareness is everything, right? Because that lowers anxiety. When you're about to go on the street, like if you're just so comfortable with how the bike moves out, how the bike stops, and how to get the bike to shift and rolling on the power, this is the lowering anxiety. And this is what we're always talking about here at the MX Factory, is how can we lower anxiety? How can we like take the pressure off, right? Then we avoid the whiskey throttle. Anxiety, high anxiety creates whiskey throttle 9 times out of 10, right? So going into it and being really controlled with your controls is very good. The second piece is spatial awareness. Like, where are you in space? How much throttle does it take to get to that next part that you need to go to, i.e. a light on the street or just a corner on the dirt, knowing how much speed, how much speed creates how much brakes, right? So like, I think being on the dirt, maybe even setting up some cones out here, accelerating into those cones, understanding how much front brake, how much back brake, all of that. So good, so good. I have this, you know, I don't ride street. There's probably maybe a little fear in me, right? That's like, well, the part of the fear is like, I'm gonna wanna go too fast, right? But when I've ridden street, I don't wanna go fast because there's so many variables there. And you've gotta keep in mind, I've raced with 42 of the fastest human beings on the earth that start right at my elbow going into a 12-foot wide first corner, right? And that doesn't scare me, but the fact that there's a car, especially now that like little Johnny's texting his girlfriend saying I'll be there in 15 minutes, that frightens me like beyond measure, right? And so like creating that, like, you know, the ability to see things that most people can't see, I think starts in an environment to where you can practice that's not super dangerous, right? Maybe that's other riders on the track with you, or maybe that's just executing and accelerating into a pile of cones or whatever it is and avoiding that. And so I think that that's a very important thing that you can do on the dirt that you don't necessarily want to do on the street right away. All right, guys, I'm stoked on this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you check out Yammie Noob. We got the crew here. They had a fun time today. They didn't crash, or maybe they did. I don't know. You watch the video over. I don't know what they did. We'll see you guys next time.